Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. Within the territory of Thunder Ancient Country, there was an ancient tree nurtured by heaven and earth, known as the frost fruit tree. Every 196 eras, the tree would bear fruit, producing frost fruits that were a kind of auxiliary resource for cultivating the primordial bloodline. The frost fruit tree is about to mature, and the warriors from the flame-wind ancient country's primal chaos realm could come to snatch it at any moment. The guardian responsible for the frost fruit tree was also a mighty warrior at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm. He had ceased his cultivation in recent days, fully controlling the formation with all his heart and mind, always vigilant against incoming enemies. Every 196 eras, during the time when the fruit is maturing, powerful warriors would be stationed as guardians. With my strength, combined with the formation set up by the godly king, even if a transcendence of primal chaos realm were to take action, I could hold them off for a while. Moreover, those transcendents of the primal chaos realm wouldn't covet these fruits, the grey-robed elder thought. Each harvest yielded only 8 fruits, worth a mere 8,000 merit points. Generally, transcendents of the primal chaos realm couldn't break the formation in a short time, and Thunder Ancient Country would send reinforcements. It's close. The frost fruit tree should mature tonight, the grey-robed elder continued to watch. As time slowly passed, suddenly, the ancient tree, which looked like it was carved from ice, suddenly radiated a dazzling, icy white light, and then all of the cold white light merged into the 8 fruits. Just at that moment, whoosh! The Black River world arrived, completely sealing off the area where the frost fruit tree stood. This is bad, the grey-robed elder exclaimed in alarm, as he instantly picked the freshly ripened fruits. The vast, black waters swept in, infiltrating and breaching the formation laid by the godly king right before the frightful force. It wasn't able to stop the river's invasion. The grey-robed elder looked around in all directions, wanting to escape in the form of a grey fog, but he couldn't penetrate the Black River world. A world seal, the Black River domain, is this great Saint Luohi. The grey-robed elder's heart trembled. The black water reached in front of the grey-robed elder and coalesced into a figure, the spitting image of Luo Feng. Great Saint Luohi, the grey-robed elder immediately greeted with respect, not daring to show the slightest disrespect. Give me the fruits, Luo Feng said, looking at him. Yes. The grey-robed elder very obediently handed over the 8 fruits to Luo Feng, without any resistance. He was concerned that if he resisted, Luo Feng might kill him. Then the weapon's secret treasures he carried would be stolen. That would be far more valuable than the 8 fruits. Phew. After securing the 8 fruits, the Black River water and the vast expanse of the Black River world vanished without a trace in an instant. The grey-robed elder then breathed a sigh of relief. This great Saint Luo, he is quite merciful, he didn't lay a finger on me. Since Luo Feng had decided on a mass harvest of the treasures of heaven and earth, he hadn't thought about slaughtering guardians on a large scale. Firstly, with his current strength, being among the strongest in the first realm of godly king, killing these much weaker beings felt like bullying. Secondly, killing too many guardians would have too great of a karmic impact. These guardians from the primal chaos realm had their own backgrounds and factions in Thunder Ancient Country. Making too many enemies, killing too many of the lesser ones, might provoke some of the older ones. Most importantly, Luo Feng disliked those who kill indiscriminately. His intention in harvesting the treasures of heaven and earth on such a large scale was to force Thunder Ancient Country into negotiations, to earn an opportunity to enter a treasure land. He had no choice, he wasn't from the imperial clan of the 2 ancient countries. And not willing to cooperate with an alien race, he could only resort to this method. In Thunder Ancient Country, at the Holy Land Mt, lay Taeying. A godly king wearing a deep purple robe sat there, dealing with a multitude of trivial matters, as vast amounts of information about the huge ancient country flowed in one after another. Oh? Luohi, the number 1 transcendence of primal chaos realm, took the 8 frost fruits. This is the first time he's contended for the treasures of heaven and earth at the border, right? The godly king, smiling and looking quite serene, said, "I guess the frost fruit must be of some use to him." He didn't seem to care at all. It was quite common for warriors of the primal chaos realm to vie for the border territories, and this was only Luo Feng's first act. *Ea the Novelia. Any asterisk T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Although the borderline between the two ancient countries was very long, and there were many places nurturing treasures of heaven and earth, there would only be about 100 opportunities for intervention every era. After each intervention, Luo Feng would have to patiently wait for the next. On his way to his third attempt to claim the treasures of heaven and earth, Luo Feng received some news. Marquis Liu Yin is dead. Luo Feng stopped mid-air, surprised by the news. The core members of the Marquis Liu Yin's family have disappeared. According to information from the Flame Wind Pavilion, they have likely split into many branches and gone into hiding. As for Marquis Liu Yin, his karmic existence has completely vanished. He must have chosen reincarnation, the message said. This kind of affair, where the family matters are carefully arranged beforehand, and then, only after everything is properly managed, the person dies. It could almost be confirmed that it was a voluntary reincarnation. Why has he reincarnated now? I had planned to find him after my spiritual will reach the ultimate realm of God King, Luo Feng pondered. His killing intent toward Marquis Liu Yin was multifaceted. One was the death of his friend Shong Qianyang, and the second was that Marquis Liu Yin himself liked to cause disasters. Slaughter was something Marquis Liu Yin enjoyed doing, and his children also relished in mass killings. Luo Feng had not acted yet merely because he wasn't sure he could kill the opponent completely. But who would have thought that the opponent would take the step to reincarnate first? Luo Feng didn't think about it anymore and continued on his journey to compete for the third time for the treasures of heaven and earth. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Mount Lei Taing. The godly king in the deep purple robe looked serious now. When Luo he first contended for the treasures of heaven and earth of Thunder ancient country, he just smiled. The second and third times, he found it somewhat surprising. By the seventh and eighth times, he felt something was amiss. 15 times now. Recently, every exquisite marvel of heaven and earth conceived by the borderlands has been snatched by this Luo he, not missing a single one, this godly king said solemnly. 15 times added up to roughly 100,000 merit points. Thunder ancient country did not care for this amount of value. Yet, Luo his actions had put him on alert. "I must report to the monarch," declared the godly king, as he stood up and went to report to the monarch in person. A short while later, inside a towering and expansive hall, a figure bathed in thunder sat high upon the throne. "Monarch." 9 godly kings all bowed respectfully. "Sit," said the figure enshrouded in thunder, his golden pupils exuding a terrifying pressure, overlooking those below. He was the ruling monarch Lei Xiao of the current Thunder ancient country, where the 9 monarchs were mainly divided into 2 major factions. The first practiced the primordial bloodline of the Thunderbolt, which was also the path of the Thunderbolt ancestor. This path was the most mature, yet it wasn't something every descendant excelled at. After all, in the supreme rules of the land of origin, there was no origin Tao of Thunderbolt. So while this path was mature, it was also extremely difficult. Even within Thunder ancient country, there were only 3 monarchs who cultivated the primordial bloodline of the Thunderbolt. Their secret techniques were more complete, they had more suitable secret treasures, and they were even more lucid. The other 6 monarchs cultivated other types of primordial bloodlines, forming another faction. If one were to count, there were also 3 semi-uncontrolled monarch-level powerhouses that could be considered a faction. After all, when they were lucid, they possessed genuine monarch-level strength. "You should all be aware of the situation," Monarch Lei Xiao said, looking at his subordinates. "Speak up, how should we resolve this? The border between the 2 great ancient countries is so long that for 15 consecutive times, every exquisite marvel that has matured has been seized by this Luo he," said a towering figure below, his eyes blood-red. Speaking coldly, 5 or 6 times might be coincidental, but 15 times in a row. That's definitely no coincidence. He's doing it deliberately. If we let him continue, then in 100 or 1,000 eras, will all of our exquisite marvels of heaven and earth go to him. In my opinion, we should just wipe out all his avatars, not giving him the chance to reincarnate. Only then can we deter all parties. Let Flame Wind Ancient Country know that border disputes should be fairly contested. Such wanton seizing, we, Thunder Ancient Country, will not tolerate, the towering figure declared coldly. Yes, kill him before he has the chance to reincarnate. Another godly king, covered in fur, also roared. Monarch Lei Xiao looked down below. Because there were so many cultivating the primordial bloodline, most godly kings of Thunder Ancient Country were somewhat mad. Why did their Thunderbolt lineage have a higher status? Strength was one aspect, but another was the ability to remain more lucid. I also agree that we should kill him outright, but how? A beautifully dressed female figure asked leisurely. This Luo he cultivates the three origin great Taos of life, destruction, and matter, with innumerable avatars. And some of his avatars reside in Chu Capital. Please tell me. How do we go to Chu Capital, and kill an existence considered of immense strength in the first realm of godly king with countless avatars? That's Chu Capital. Chu Capital was personally forged by primogenitor Yang Feng, guarded by Emperor Chu. Due to the permeation of causality, its power will greatly diminish. How to kill? The beautifully dressed female figure looked at the other godly kings. The other godly kings fell silent. Of course we can't do it, but the monarchs can, the burly figure finally spoke. You mean to ask a monarch to take action? For such a trivial matter, to send a monarch to slaughter his way into Chu Capital of the Flame Wind Ancient Country? The woman in the splendid robe shook her head. First, if a monarch takes action, it would be a case of the strong bullying the weak, and the whole land of origin would laugh at us. Second, in a place like Chu Capital, given the countless life-saving abilities of this Luo his avatar, as well as the protection of Emperor Chu. Even if a monarch could kill Luo, he would be able to reincarnate given just a little time. After reincarnation, Luo he will definitely hide himself. Once he becomes a godly king, his strength will be much greater than now. I fear it won't be inferior to me, the woman in the splendid robe said. Thirdly, don't forget the temperament of Emperor Chu. If our monarch really bullies the weak by slaughtering his way into Chu Capital to kill his disciple, what would Emperor Chu do? The woman in the splendid robe swept her gaze over those present. The godly kings fell silent. Indeed. If Thunder Ancient Country first bullies the weak and acts tyrannically, Emperor Chu will certainly not endure it. Once Emperor Chu takes action, the other emperors behind him, although they fight amongst themselves, will absolutely unite against outsiders. Most importantly, the border of the two great ancient countries is left for the primal chaos realm beings to fight over. This is decided by the two ancestors, said the woman in the splendid robe. It's also to temper the primal chaos realm of both countries. Let them fight and kill each other, and the strong get the resources. Luo he is also of the primal chaos realm. His struggle for the treasures of heaven and earth is completely within the rules. Now just because he is strong, you want to take action. Doesn't that make our Thunder Ancient Country seem petty? To break the rules set by the ancestor for such a small issue, what does that amount to? The woman in the splendid robe said as she swept her gaze over her companions. What do you propose we do then? His incessantly claiming the treasures of heaven and earth, the burly godly king with blood-red eyes stared at her. Just talk to this Luo he, a small matter that can be resolved with a single negotiation, the woman in the splendid robe said, her smile sweeping over the group of godly kings. A bunch of fools. Indeed, she looked down on these companions. Without cultivating the primordial bloodline, she was already at the invincible level of the first realm of a godly king. She existed as an overlord of the land of origin. She was ambitious, not relying on external forces to go farther. In the future, with the help of the primordial bloodline, she could become even stronger. She even hoped to become a new monarch. I support godly King Jiayin. Yes, we cannot break the rules of the ancestor, chimed in three of the godly kings in rapid succession. Monarch Lei Xiao nodded in satisfaction. Godly King Jiayin, under his command, was the one he valued the most, having become a godly king in the first realm without relying on external forces to become invincible. In Thunder Ancient Country, strength spelled status. Godly King Jiayin was strong enough and absolutely level-headed. She handled matters very properly. Most of the other overlord-level existences were too insane and unrestrained. Jiayin, this matter is entrusted to you, said Monarch Lei Xiao. Yes, Monarch, the woman in the splendid robe responded. Monarch Lei Xiao then stood up and had already vanished and departed. The woman in the splendid robe disappeared into thin air as well. Humph, the burly godly king with bloodshot eyes was full of anger, as he swept his gaze over where the woman in the splendid robe had vanished, cultivating the origin Tao of the infinite, always knowing to hide and hide. He disliked godly King Jiayin very much. He had even attempted to attack her, but he could never touch her. Flame Wind Ancient Country, outskirts of Chu capital city. A graceful figure of a woman in luxurious robes materialized out of thin air, smiling towards the direction of Chu capital city. Huang Feng is imprisoned here. She could pinpoint the location of the city lord of Desert Wind City using the origin Tao of causality. Such an impressive Chu capital city, truly worthy of being the powerful secret treasure crafted by primogenitor Yang Feng. Gazing at the city before her, she could sense the endless might contained within its walls. Here, Emperor Chu was invincible. Whoosh! With one step, she arrived at the city gate, entering openly and righteously, and with another step, she was outside the main gate of Luo Feng's cave dwelling, knocking gently. As she knocked, Luo Feng inside the cave dwelling suddenly became aware, at which moment the servant had already opened the door. Godly King Jiayin. At a glance, Luo Feng saw the figure at the main gate through the myriad buildings and identified the identity of the visitor. Great Saint Luo He. Godly King Jiayin also looked at Luo Feng and nodded with a smile. Luo Feng also became serious. Godly King Jiayin was widely known throughout the land of origin, an unrivaled entity in the first realm of Godly King, which was extremely rare in the land of origin, even more so than ancient entities at the second realm of Godly King. In the entire land of origin, the unrivaled at the first realm of the Godly King, openly or secretly in total, according to the information given by Master Emperor Chu, should be less than 20. And most of those unrivaled at the first realm of Godly King practiced the primordial bloodline. Those unrivaled at the first realm of Godly King, who do not rely on the primordial bloodline, there are probably only about 5 overall in the land of origin, and Godly King Jiayin is one of them. This shows how special she is. Even the lofty monarchs of Thunder Ancient Country value her highly. No matter which monarch was in power, they would invite her for assistance. It is said that Godly King Jiayin, with the origin Tao of the infinite as her foundation, cultivated to the ultimate in the first realm of Godly King. After that, she also cultivated the origin Tao of causality. The combination of the two made her an unrivaled entity in the first realm of Godly King. Infinite and causality combined, Godly King Jiayin can foresee any danger in advance. Luo Feng was well aware that in terms of avoiding danger and saving one's own life, Godly King Jiayin was above him and even above the ancestral god of the snow realm. This was truly an overlord-level existence in the land of origin. In the cave mansion, at the Welcome Pavilion, Luo Feng personally entertained Godly King Jiayin. What could bring Godly King Jiayin to visit someone in the primal chaos realm like me? Luo Feng poured wine for Godly King Jiayin. Recently, at the border of the two ancient countries, 15 rare natural treasures have emerged, all of which were snatched by you, Great Saint Luo He, Godly King Jiayin said with a smile, looking at Luo Feng. Great Saint Luo He, you haven't missed a single one. May I ask, do you intend to monopolize all the natural treasures along the border line? As for those continuously productive mines, one could take a bit and send it back. But for those natural treasures that mature periodically, Luo Feng precisely timed it to monopolize them all. Is that not allowed? Luo Feng looked at her. The conflicts along the border between the two countries have lasted for endless eras. Of course, it's allowed. Godly King Jiayin nodded. The border conflicts naturally have winners and losers. Now that Great Saint Luo his strength far surpasses other transcendent beings in the primal chaos realm, you naturally have the right to monopolize, and we in Thunder Ancient Country can afford to lose. Luo Feng listened closely. But as you know, Many godly kings of Thunder ancient country have bad tempers. Godly King Jiuyin looked at Luo Feng, and there are a few who could become barely controlled monarch-level existences. If you, great Saint Luo He, keep harvesting all the natural treasures, causing one of those half-uncontrolled monarchs to rage, Godly King Jiuyin watched Luo Feng, even if you are within Chu capital city, a half-uncontrolled monarch could obliterate all your avatars in the land of origin. If you're lucky, you'll have just enough time to be reborn. Luo Feng said, Godly King Jiuyin, I have one avatar living within the palace of Emperor Chu. Emperor Chu arranged for Luo Feng to do this as a precaution. Palace of Emperor Chu. Godly King Jiuyin frowned slightly. As a bustling city, Chu capital city didn't prohibit entry or exit, with countless citizens thriving within. Teleporting into Chu capital city was unrestricted, and monarch-level beings could instantaneously obliterate Luo Feng's avatar. But the palace of Emperor Chu, if not permitted, was forbidden to enter. Without access to the palace, naturally, Luo Feng could not be encountered. Emperor Chu allowing you to reside within the palace of Emperor Chu, he truly values you highly. Godly King Jiuyin realized she couldn't pose a threat, immediately saying, Thunder ancient country hopes that you, Luo He, will forever give up competing for the border treasures. Brother Luo He, name your terms. Luo Feng looked at her with a smile. I want to enter the treasure trove left by Yuan. Godly King Jiuyin's expression changed slightly, the treasure trove left by Yuan. Yes, any treasury will do. I'm not picky, Luo Feng said. Godly King Jiuyin looked at Luo Feng, choose another condition. The resources left by Yuan will not be released by the imperial clan of Thunder ancient country. That's the condition, Luo Feng said, if you don't agree, then forget it. I'll continue to compete for the border's natural treasures. 100 eras, 1,000 eras. I have time. Godly King Jiuyin shook her head lightly, forget it. I'll go back and consult the monarch. It's not up to me to decide. Even for the two ancient countries, the resources left by Yuan were the most core. Those brought back by the ancestors were secondary. Even the alien races that traversed the far primordial space to reach the land of origin did so in pursuit of the resources left by Yuan. After speaking, Godly King Jiuyin stood up and disappeared without a trace. According to what Master said, my chances of success should be quite high. Luo Feng waited patiently, as a non-imperial clan powerhouse aspiring to enter the treasure places left by Yuan. According to his master's insights, this was the only way. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Mount Lei Taing. What? The monarch Lei Xiao, bathing in thunder, was somewhat surprised. He wants to enter the treasure place left by Yuan. Yes, that's his only condition. He would accept any treasure place. Godly King Jiuyin stated, if we do not agree, he will continue to compete for the border's natural treasures. Lei Xiao considered it carefully. While spots to enter the treasure place were precious, they still had their value. The natural treasures nurtured along the border, while ordinary individually, amassed altogether and accumulating over time, their value was truly terrifying. In 1,000 eras, the natural treasures he contends for will be worth at least 500 million merit points. If he stays at the primal chaos realm for several thousand more eras, our losses will be immense, Godly King Jiuyin stated, and having such a large quantity monopolized, could even cause a shortage of many mid to low-end resources. Monarch Lei Xiao understood the meaning of his subordinate. All right, agree to his request, and give him one entry to the least valued treasure site, Monarch Lei Xiao spoke up. The treasure site known as Infinite Space, one entry, the exchange price for a guest Godly King is 50 million merit points. This is the least valued one, said Godly King Jiuyin. The two major ancient countries would also release some peripheral resources for the guest Godly Kings to exchange. But the exchange price remained extremely high. Let's go with this entry, Monarch Lei Xiao thought, and took out a silver token from the royal treasure vault, which floated towards Godly King Jiuyin. Godly King Jiuyin immediately complied. In Chu capital, Luo Feng's cave dwelling. The monarch has agreed. Godly King Jiuyin looked at Luo Feng, in exchange for an entry to a treasure site left by Yuan, for the promise of great Saint Luo He to forever give up the competition for rare resources along the border of the two countries. Once a promise is made, given the value of this trade, it becomes a significant cause and effect. Godly King Jiayin looked at Luo Feng. If you break the promise, even if you reach the invincible first realm of Godly King, through cause and effect backlash, all your avatars can be obliterated in an instant. I understand, Luo Feng nodded in realization. Under normal circumstances, an invincible first realm Godly King, with an extremely strong ability to preserve life, could not be claimed by emperors or monarchs to be instantly obliterated. But if one sought death by first creating a significant cause and effect and then actively breaking it, the monarch only needed to use cause and effect backlash, and with a timely strike, could annihilate all avatars. Since he had promised, Luo Feng naturally would not compete for the treasures. If he really needed some of the rare resources along the border, he would prefer to purchase them outright. This is the entry token to infinite space, one of the treasure sites left by Yuan. Godly King Jiayin placed a silver token on the table. Luo Feng looked at the silver token, full of anticipation. This was the core opportunity of the land of origin. Aside from the Lai Yuan technique, he had acquired another chance today. Sir the novelfire.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Buzz. As soon as Luo Feng touched the silver token with his hand, a large amount of information instantly flooded into his memory. So this is how it is. Luo Feng had some basic understanding of the opportunity. The trade is complete. Godly King Jiayin smiled. Great Saint Luo He, I've heard that you have imprisoned the true body of the Desert Wind City Lord of our Thunder ancient country. Yes, Luo Feng nodded. The redemption price of merely 300 billion cosmic sand, valued at 1 million merit points, was not yet gathered by Desert Wind City Lord. Could you release him? Godly King Jiayin asked. He still owes me 220 billion cosmic sand, Luo Feng said. I'll pay, declared Godly King Jiayin. Then, of course, I can, Luo Feng smiled. Soon, the Desert Wind City Lord was released. Godly King Jiayin, the Desert Wind City Lord, upon seeing Godly King Jiayin, was extremely respectful and grateful. Thank you, Godly King Jiayin, for saving me. I've paid 220 billion cosmic sand to save you. From now on you shall serve me, and once the debt is repaid, you will regain your freedom. Is that acceptable? Godly King Jiayin looked at the Desert Wind City Lord. Yes, the Desert Wind City Lord did not hesitate. All this time, he had been trying to gather the cosmic sand for ransom. The godly kings of the Thunder ancient country each took advantage to exploit him heavily, and he had not agreed to them. Finally, there was Godly King Jiayin willing to help him. Let's go. Godly King Jiayin immediately left with the Desert Wind City Lord. As they were leaving, the Desert Wind City Lord couldn't help but glance at Luo Feng. Luo Feng also smiled slightly. Even with the tyrannical temperament of the Desert Wind City Lord, there was a tremor in his heart, and all he wanted was to be far away from Luo He. After Luo Feng obtained the silver token of the treasure site Infinite Space left by Yuan, he was not in a hurry to enter it. Instead, he went to consult with his master first. Master, the Thunder ancient country has agreed. They've given the entry token for Infinite Space. Luo Feng presented the token. Infinite Space. Emperor Chu looked at the silver token and nodded softly. I had guessed long ago that the quota given by the Thunder ancient country would definitely be of lower value, but this is too low. It's of low value? Luo Feng inquired. The treasure sites left by Yuan, some can drive godly kings mad. This one is rather ordinary, Emperor Chu explained. I'll send you all the information that the Flame Wind ancient country has on this particular treasure site. Luo Feng soon received the complete information on the treasure site, which was far more detailed than the information that came with the token. I feel it's pretty good. After understanding the information, Luo Feng thought that this treasure site, Infinite Space, was already quite amazing. Of course, it could also be because he hadn't seen any other treasure sites. No matter what, explore carefully, Emperor Chu advised. This treasure site might have some undiscovered secrets. Any treasure site left by Yuan should not be underestimated. Yes, Master, Luo Feng immediately replied. That night, Luo Feng sat in the quiet room within Luo Feng's cave dwelling, the Star Tower, holding the silver token. According to the information, should one's consciousness be guided by the silver token to enter the treasure site, infinite space. Luo Feng's avatar sat cross-legged, activating the silver token in his hand. Buzz. Immediately a stream of consciousness, led by the token, set off towards the treasure site, infinite space. And this silver token also disappeared without a trace. Each token could only be used once and would disappear after use. Then it would silently and randomly reappear somewhere in the land of origin. This video will end here.